Hi everyone, this is Mary. You're on Mary Reads. Welcome back to my channel. It's the end of September, so it's time to make an overview of the month, tell you about what I've read, tell you what I liked and what I didn't like, because this month was crazy with how I ranked the books. So I have a 2-star book here. I have a 5-star, I have a bunch of 4 stars. So let's go through all of them and discuss. We'll start from the beginning of the month, and the first book of this month was The Man in the Iron Mask. I posted a separate video about this book. It's the novel by Alexandre Dumas, and it's the last in the Three Musketeers series. It tells us a story of this young man who is held in the Bastille, and he's wearing this iron mask. And Dumas is trying to explain the legend. He thinks he knows who is behind this iron mask. I did not like the book. I think I gave it 3 stars. I really didn't like the book. I feel like the Musketeers were not as they're supposed to be. So one of the friends, Aramis, was very, very mean and bad in this book. Maybe not even mean, but he was just a bad person. He did bad things. He sent his friend to basically death, knowing that he doesn't know a thing, that he's just going to be happy to help and be there for his friends. So yeah, and then I felt like Dumas was trying to kill off everybody to finish the series, and everything happened too fast and not very logical. So I made, again, a separate video about it, and I will link it down below. So if you want to know more, please feel free to watch that video. I don't want to spend too much time with this book. Let's keep moving. The second book I read is The Murder is Announced by Agatha Christie, and this was the first book in Miss Marple series that I read. I have to say that I like Miss Marple less than I do like Hercule Poirot, just because I feel like Miss Marple is not very present. She's there every once in a while. She says something, oh, look at the wording of this sentence, or oh, note her name. And then in the end she says, oh, you know what, I understood everything from the beginning. I think this, I think that, that's how I got to my conclusion. So we don't really see her investigation. We see the investigation of the police, and she kind of assists them slightly. With Hercule Poirot, he's the leading character. He's the main one. Yes, of course, he works with the police, but he openly shows us his investigation. With Miss Marple, it's not the thing. But it is a nice difference between the characters. So compared to Hercule Poirot, Miss Marple is much more patient, much more mild. She even feels like kind of silly, in the sense that she pretends to be silly and not important. By that, she makes sure people do not think anything serious about her, and they, you know, don't have to pretend as much around her. And this is how she gets them to confess, or that's how this leads her to the correct answer. That was fun. In this particular book, we have an announcement in the newspaper that says that at 6:30 at this and this house, there will be a murder. And multiple people decide to go and see what is going on and why this is a thing. Who announces a murder in a newspaper? And everybody thinks that this is a game because it was popular, that it's kind of a mafia game in real life. So people get together, at some point the light turns off, then the light turns back on, and one person is, you know, lying down pretending that he was murdered, and everybody else is trying to guess who murdered him. So this is what actually happens. But then once the lights go off, the actual shot is heard, and everybody, of course, understands that something horrible happened. And once the light comes back on, they actually see a young man being shot. But he was the one who was shooting. So was it a suicide, or did he accidentally kill himself? What happened? And the woman that they think was supposed to be killed is the woman who lives in the house where the murder happened. I don't remember her name at this point. She was slightly shot. Well, she got a bullet kind of near her ear, so her ear is bleeding, but she's fine. She was able to survive, and it's this man who was trying to kill her who died. And now Miss Marple and the police will try to investigate and see why anybody wanted to kill this woman. I definitely didn't expect the ending. It was not very thrilling. It was very calm and slow, but I liked the setting. I liked this small village. I liked that everybody knew everybody, that everybody had certain relationships, and it was just nice to, you know, see the life of this small town and try to understand what's going on. Because obviously it feels like in a small town or village, whatever it was, like that, since you know everybody, you can't even imagine somebody committing a murder. So yeah, it was fun. It was definitely fun. I think I gave it 4 stars out of 5, which is like 7 or 8 out of 10, probably 7. It's definitely not my favorite book by Agatha Christie, but it was good. It was good. The next one that I read was also by Agatha Christie, and it's called The Body in the Library. This one is also in Miss Marple series, and it's shorter than other Agatha Christie's books. Like you can see that this one, it was like 200 pages when every other book is like 280, maybe 300. So from the beginning, I was sitting there thinking, okay, this book is super short. How are we gonna get to the murderer in such a short book, in only 200 pages? What's gonna happen here? Will Agatha Christie be able to explain everything well enough? So in this story, a family awakes to their maid telling them that there's a body in the library. And at first, the family thinks, well, that's stupid. How can there be a body in our library? The doors were locked for the night. Everything was fine in the evening. So what could have happened? But they get to the library and there really is a body of this young woman who is dressed in a nice dress with makeup on, with her hair done. And everybody, of course, thinks that it's the husband's mistress, that he probably killed her. They had a fight and he killed her in a rage. But Miss Marple thinks that it's something different and they start investigating. This book, I gave a 3 out of 5, which was like probably 6 out of 10. 5 is too low, probably 6. But I just didn't care about the characters here. I feel like everything happened so fast that I didn't really care about the murderer. When they said who the murderer is, I was like, whatever. Okay, fine. And then I didn't really care about the whole story. I don't know why. I had such high expectations of this book just because it's the library. It's this very dark academia vibe place, if you know what I mean. And it's a mystery novel, and it's a very classical mystery novel. So it's Agatha Christie. I was expecting so much. But then I just feel like maybe if it was a little bit thicker, maybe if we had more details, I would care more about the characters. But unfortunately, I was upset about this book. It's definitely not the worst of her books. I've definitely read the ones that I liked even less, like Tommy and Tuppence, but I definitely expected more than I got. The next book, I had to return it to the library because it was a book from the library and somebody put it on hold. It was Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere, and oh my god, I loved this book. I loved it so much. It's definitely a 10 out of 10. It will probably go in the list of the best books of the year. I was so happy with it. I did not expect to like it that much. I always felt like Neil Gaiman is not really my thing. I watched Caroline and it was good, but it was definitely not really my style. And since then, I thought that Neil Gaiman is not really my thing. And then I got my husband, I have it somewhere here, Lucifer Comics, that was also by Neil Gaiman and I think somebody else. And I just thought that, well, it's not really, you know, my type of literature. But then I saw Neverwhere and I read what it's about and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I saw it in a bookstore in Canada. And then once I got back to New York, I decided that I need to take it from the library, and I found it, I got it, and I loved it. So this is a story about a man who once saves a girl, and this brings him to a completely different world. It's called London Below. So he lives in London, but there is another city, another town that's called London Below, and it is kind of placed under London. So kind of the underground, the sewers, all of that stuff. And obviously we have very weird creatures there. We have an angel, we have rats, we have people who speak with rats, we have monsters, we have hunters. So it's all kind of a little bit mysterious and crazy. And our main character, I think his name was Richard. I think so, Richard. He gets into that world, and he obviously wants to return to his regular life. He had a job, he had a fiance, he had an apartment. He wants all of that. And the whole book, while he's helping this girl, he wants to return. And we are gonna see the whole adventure. We are gonna see the difference between London and London Below, because they are connected a little bit, but they're not really connected. So it's a whole new world. And I was really, really hoping that this book will be kind of a series. So if there is London Below, maybe there will be New York Below or something like that, and we will have a separate story about each one of those. But I think it's not. I think that was just a singular book. But now I'm even more interested in reading more of Neil Gaiman's books, and I'm definitely going to be getting more. I don't know who exactly to recommend this book to, just because I feel like maybe teens, late teens, because we get some cursing, some sexual scenes, so it's probably not for kids of like 12 to 14. But the adventure itself is very, very much for teenagers, like 12 to 14. I would say, yeah, they would enjoy it. So I can't really understand the group. I really liked it. If that's the genre that you enjoy, then even if you are in your, let's say, late 20s, early 30s, you will also enjoy it, I think. But if it's not really your thing, if you don't really enjoy adventures that much, and you are in your late 20s and your early 30s, then it's probably not going to be good for you. If you are 14, it's probably a little bit early. Maybe wait till you're 15, 16. So yeah, it's kind of this very narrow category of people who could read this book and enjoy it. But if you are in that group of people, please read it. It's amazing. I loved it. And the next book I read is Yellowface by Rebecca Kuang, and I made a separate video about this book, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. Let me just say that I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I think probably 8 out of 10. There were some crazy moments that I thought weren't done very well. For example, the climax. But then I think maybe that kind of was the point, that everything is getting more and more crazy. And somebody said in the comments that this is kind of a thing, that's how it's supposed to be. And we should see how it's getting crazier and crazier, and we should be even more sick of that. We should not support one separate character. We should be sick of every character. And I also didn't like the ending, but she said that it's how it works in life, which I probably agree with. Obviously, we want a happy ending, but happy endings not always happen. So yeah, there definitely were things that I did not enjoy, but at the same time, again, after talking to this person, if you're watching this video, thank you very much. I really enjoy having conversations about these things, about different books and how we see them and how we view them. Maybe Kuang wanted to do that, and in that case, if that's how she planned it, she did it very well. I personally didn't like some of the things, but it was fine. I would definitely recommend it. I found out a lot about publishing world, which I loved. It's obviously connected to literature and books, which I also loved. It discusses some of the very talked about topics today, like race and ethnicity. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this book. The next one is one of my new favorite books, and I did not expect to like it. I am not a fan of science fiction. I have never read science fiction before. If I have not enjoyed it very much and then never read it since. But I saw The Martian. My husband was watching the movie and he showed me like the first scene. I loved it. And I said, you know what? Do not watch this movie with me. Watch it alone. I will read the book and then we will watch the movie together. So I finally read The Martian by Andy Weir. I loved it so much. It's so fun. The main character is so amazing. He is sarcastic. He still, even though he faces all of those crazy complications, all of those difficulties, he's still able to believe that he's gonna survive on Mars and that somebody's gonna save him. He's super smart. He thinks of crazy ways of getting out of those complicated situations, and he succeeds. So the story is about a group of people, astronauts, who go to Mars, and on day 6 out of their, I think, kind of a 3 weeks long stay on Mars, there is a huge sandstorm, and one of the group gets injured and there is no signal from him, so the whole team is thinking that he's dead. So they leave because the situation gets very dangerous for them and their spaceship might, tilt and fall. So they get on the spaceship and they leave. And then a couple days later, our character, who everybody thought died, wakes up and he realizes that he's on Mars alone. So now obviously he has to figure out a way to stay alive. He doesn't have enough food for the time when the next expedition will get to Mars. So he starts trying to grow stuff. He needs to make sure that he has enough oxygen. He needs to make sure that he has enough water. He needs to make sure that it's warm enough. He doesn't have a radio, so he doesn't have any sort of contact with NASA. And it's just amazing. I loved everything about this book. Just the way his will to live is so strong. How everything is going wrong, but he still believes that it's gonna end up fine. And I read the interview with Andy Weir, and he said that he loved science since he was a kid. And he was just at some point sitting there thinking of, let's say somebody gets to Mars and this is the problem they can face, and then maybe this is a problem they can face, and how they would solve it. And at some point he was like, you know what, this is going to be a cool idea for the book. I should try writing it. And he started posting the book chapter by chapter on his website, and then people loved it. He got a lot of reads, and people started asking him, you know what, could you maybe think of a way to put it on a Kindle so we could read it from a Kindle, not from your website? And he put the book on Amazon for like 99 cents because this was the only way Amazon let him put it on. It didn't let him put it for, $0. So he put it in for 99 cents. And suddenly he became a best-selling author in Amazon, and agents started contacting him and publishing houses, and this is how the book came out. Obviously, there were changes during the publishing process, but what's interesting is that there's a lot of science and explanations of chemistry, of physics, of math, and a lot of people who contacted him were actually working in NASA or were somehow connected to science, and they were telling him that it's a very accurate book. Some of them obviously found some things that did not sound very real, and those he tried fixing. Obviously, not everything could be fixed, but most of them he tried fixing, so it's fairly accurate, which was crazy to me. The only thing that I did not enjoy about this much science is that I did not understand it. So I'm not a scientist, and some of the things that were written here, I couldn't understand how it works, which is not necessarily important because it's an explanation of how do you get oxygen from all of the nitrogen and CO2 and whatever. So yeah, I just had to believe, it was like, oh, you said so? Okay, I guess you're right. So if you don't know a lot about science, then maybe you will get a little bit lost, but you will still obviously understand everything that's happening in the book. You're just not going to be able to understand the exact way something is working. If you're a scientist or you know a lot about science, maybe you will find some mistakes here, but that's fine. Andy Weir knows they can be there, and he did everything he could to make it as accurate as possible. So if you are a scientist, just keep in mind that there can be kind of small mistakes, but everything else is accurate. Loved the book. I would recommend it to everyone. And if you are not a fan of science fiction, but you are curious about the genre, try this book. Oh my God, it was amazing. The next book was probably one of the worst in this year, and I'm very sad about it. I am open to discussion here. Please, if you've read this book, let me know what you thought about it, what you kind of took away from the book, and if you think it's worth reading. It's Study for Obedience by Sarah Bernstein, and this book was on the last year's Booker Prize in the short list. And I really enjoyed the summary. I thought that out of all of the, I think, 6 books that were shortlisted, this was the most interesting one. I thought that I'm gonna love it. And I was just so happy when I realized that it's in the library and I could take it. So in this story, a woman comes to a different country to help her brother. She starts living with him. His wife and kids left him, so she's there to kind of, be his, not a partner obviously, but help. And at the same time, when she gets there, weird things start happening. So the cows go crazy, and the owner, the farmer, has to kill them all. And then the dog gets like a phantom pregnancy, and something else happens, and then something else happens, and everybody obviously thinks that it's connected to her. And I thought, wow, this is completely new. I've never heard of anything like that before. And I started reading. It's a very short book. It's 188 pages with a very big font. But I hated it. I hated every page of it. You know what? To be fair, there were a couple of moments when I got interested. That's why I didn't give it 1 out of 5. I gave it a 2. But here, basically, this girl, her whole life, she has been obedient. She was trying to be good for everybody else. She was not thinking about herself. She's basically becoming a maid for her brother. We don't really know what time everything is happening in, but there is YouTube, there is obviously internet, there is central heating. So we understand that it's 2000s. We understand that it's not, 18th or 19th century. But he asks her to, he makes her get the wood to set fire. He makes her make him breakfast and wake him up with a breakfast tray near his bed. And I'm just sitting there thinking, dude, what are you doing? And why is it like that? First of all, why did she decide that she needs to do all of this bullshit? Why does she have to say, okay, brother, I will do everything for you. I will bathe you. I will clean for you. I will buy food for you. I will do whatever you say. And then also, what's the thing with the wood? She explains that yes, even though he had central heating, he wanted this very old and classy ambiance, so he preferred fire. But then why not buy? Why not buy wood? What are you talking about? He's a very wealthy man. He definitely would have money for it. And then the villagers start going on to her, saying, oh, you know what? It's all your fault. They hate her. Moms cover babies' eyes when they see her. People start crying around her. People curse her. They do all of this stuff, and she's just sitting there thinking, okay, fine, I guess I deserve this. And these 188 pages, we read about her saying, okay, I guess I deserve it. It's fine. People don't appreciate me. It's fine. I will try to be better for them. What's going on? And she says that she wants to be different. She doesn't like how she's like that. But nothing happens. Nothing changes. And by the end of the book, nothing has changed. So why did I just read 188 pages of a woman whining about her life when she's not trying to do anything? And I guess there is a lot of philosophy in it, but I was just so annoyed with the main character that I didn't notice any of it. And yes, it's about her trying to fit in and not being able to, not being in her place, but still, you know, it was just so depressing to read this. I didn't like it at all. I was expecting so much more. So Sarah Bernstein is definitely not my author, and I don't think I will be buying any more of her books. And these are all the books that I've finished reading. There is one that I'm reading right now. Today is September 30th. I kind of have another half a day, but it's Agatha Christie's At Bertram's Hotel. And in this mystery novel, Miss Marple stays at Bertram's Hotel. It's a very, very old-fashioned hotel. Everything in there is just as she remembered when she came there as a girl. And then one day, a man leaves to go to the airport at a wrong day, and this creates a whole bunch of problems. I think he gets killed. So far, I'm in the middle of the book, but so far I have no idea what's going on. The body hasn't been found yet, even though everything already happened. And we have two kind of separate stories going on here. I have no idea how they're connected. I love the atmosphere of a hotel. That's why I took this book. I love how everything is old-fashioned, how there are chambermaids that come every morning, how everything is very strict with, this is how we do breakfast, this is how we do lunch, this is what we serve, this is what you can get from us. So it's this very, very old-fashioned and classy hotel. And I really like the atmosphere. It's perfect, it's mysterious, and I have very, very high expectations for this book. I have no idea how it's going to finish, so I can't tell you yet what I think about the book. So far, it's been amazing, and I have no idea who committed the murder. So yeah, it's been half of a book, and so far I can recommend it. I will let you know once I finish with it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it. And so far, I think this book might be like 9 out of 10. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments what books you read in September. Like this video, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.